Hi, everyone, and welcome. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with head coach Doug Pederson, our weekly one-on-one presented by Wawa. And unfortunately, this is our final one of the 2018 season. How do you feel a couple of days after the season ended?
Still feel the same. I'm disappointed. Obviously, we didn't continue our season and the journey on to the Super Bowl. But I'm also, after 2 days removed, very proud of the football team and the way they fought and really, we were 4-6 at one point, and everybody kind of counted us out. And yeah, we stayed in every football game and gave ourselves a chance. 6 out of 7 down the stretch, and a chance to play in the postseason and get a postseason win in Chicago. And then, of course, came up short in New Orleans. So very proud of the guys.
Does that at all, do you think, carry over to 2019? What parts of 2018 will carry over?
There's a lot. There's a lot, actually. And to name a few, I think the fact that we were 2 games away from the Super Bowl again this year will carry over. That'll resonate with the players. I think, too, when they reflect back, and part of my messaging to the team on Monday is to reflect back on 2018 and say, okay, you can actually point at a couple games this season where if we'd have just taken care of our business, finished the game a little bit better, maybe we have that 3rd seed or maybe even the 2nd seed or whatever it might be, where we're playing a home game, a home playoff game at the Link in front of our fans instead of being on the road for 3 or 4 games. So there's a lot of things we can look at and obviously the injuries and all that, but still, we had a chance at the end and just came up short.
The new normal that you spoke about last February, do you feel like it has permeated the locker room, the entire building, the entire organization?
I do. Listening to the players talk, Monday again with these exit interviews and talking to a lot of players, that's what they're talking about. They want to. They're eager even for this next season to come around so they can continue to play ball into January, and they understand that mentality and what it takes. And for us as coaches, we feel like, or I feel like, my philosophy, it starts in April. It starts in OTAs and having everybody here. That's when you really build that championship team is in the offseason.
What happens at exit interviews? Do you literally have every player file into your office on their way out?
It's not necessarily everybody. It's certain guys, specific guys, and guys that really want to come up and talk to you and just, if they're thinking about something or just, whatever it might be. And so you get a chance to visit with a lot of guys.
Carson Wentz talked on Monday about getting back to his pre-injury form, playing freely. You've been in the position. You know him better than anybody. How does that happen physically and mentally?
Well, physically, being 100% healthy, number one, which he's on track for that, and fully expect him to be ready for OTAs and going through OTAs, and then having that off season with his guys, with Alshon and Zach and Nelly and the guys that are going to be out there with him, building that chemistry again. That's where a lot of this stuff. You want to go on a championship run. Well, it starts in the spring and building those relationships then. And so for him, being healthy going into the spring, and then obviously through training camp is where everything begins.
You met the media on Tuesday. You mentioned it, the offensive line and Brandon Brooks and his injury, recovery time number one, and then making sure that offensive line is great in 2019. How do you go about that? How much does that injury play into your plans?
Yeah, first of all, it was unfortunate that we lost Brandon in that Saints game. He's obviously a big part, an integral part of that offensive line and the success we had there. And as far as the timeline, I mean, it's just natural healing once he gets through the repair and then gets himself going. I mean, we expect him, in a couple of months to be back and he'll be fine. Mix right back in there. But again, we want to make sure he's 100% and all of that before we put him back out there. So, a guy like that is a valuable part of our offensive line, and he'll be back at some point.
On the offensive line, a lot of curiosity from the fans on a couple of young players, Jordan Mailata, Matt Pryor. They didn't play on the field regular season. What kind of progress did they make behind the scenes?
These 2 guys worked extremely hard. They did a lot of the service team reps during the week, and then even down the stretch when we rested Lane Johnson or Jason Peters, these guys got reps. And of course Jordan, had the injury and went on IR, and so he missed the last couple weeks of the season. But Matt really got a lot of opportunity with our first offense, getting reps there, and then of course taking all the service team reps against our defense, and really both of those guys really grew. I think with not only with the offense, but in their performances and in their skill set and getting better as players. So this will be a big offseason for both of them.
But most improvement in the NFL, year 1 to year 2, right? That's kind of the way it goes.
That's usually the first big jump you see, and then sometimes even after that, you can see another incremental jump. But yeah, this will be a big jump, big year for them.
You feel good about that draft class? Avante played a lot. Dallas played a lot. Josh had been playing before he got hurt.
I think about the last two. Derek Barnett's in there. And then you fast forward, you got Josh Sweat coming back in there, and Maddox is in that spot. I mean, these guys are.
Rasul Douglas got a lot of time.
Rasul Douglas got a lot of time. He really improved this year with that. So these young players, Dallas Goedert, they really improved as the season went, and guys that we can count on and rely on for many years.
Doug, big picture defense. What's it going to take to get it back up to where you want it to be?
Well, get our guys back out there.
That would help a lot.
We lost so many guys in the secondary. I mean, you start going down the list: Rodney McLeod, Ronald Darby, Jalen Mills, Jordan Hicks missed some time. Derek Barnett missed, Josh Sweat missed. I mean, those are starters. Those are guys that got valuable minutes. Some of those guys even played in the Super Bowl the year before. So, getting those guys out there, excuse me, will really bolster the defense, and you become a stronger unit. And quite frankly, I think that's what it's going to take, is just getting those guys out there, staying healthy, and improving the overall scheme.
We don't know how much change there will be. There's always significant change. You want certain types of players here. You want leadership. What are the characteristics that Doug Pederson is looking for in this offseason?
Howie talks about that 15 to 20% changeover in your roster, every season. But you want guys that are guys that are going to fit into your culture. Quite frankly, I want football players. I want guys who love football, and they got to be smart and intelligent, and all that. But, listen, you just want football players, guys that love and have a passion for the game. And, I could sit here and go through every position and give you criteria, height, weight, speed, and all that. But at the end of the day, it's hard to coach heart. And if somebody has that and they have the will and the desire to be coached, and to be coached right, to be coached hard, and then fit in with your culture, those are the guys we want.
Doug, what did you learn about winning the Super Bowl and then coming back the next year? I know it's a truncated offseason. You really made it a priority to rest players as much as you could. Did you learn a lot about it? Like, what would you do next time? Because obviously we are expecting more Super Bowls in the future.
Well, and that's the thing. I think is as coaching staff, how we handle the offseason from a preparation standpoint, I would do some things differently. Normally we spend about a month looking at our scheme, going back through the season and just sort of digesting it and coming up with new ideas and how can we better the offense, defense, and special teams. Well, when you play into February, you lost that month of January of that. So, I would do things differently from a scheme standpoint, and then really, there's no easy way around the players. If you can rest some guys during maybe the spring, you rest them and give them some more time there. But I think once you get into training camp, man, you got to continue to put your foot on the gas. Guys are feeling fresh. Don't cut back. Don't do anything that would maybe hamper your success during the season.
Is there a hangover after the Super Bowl, after winning the Super Bowl?
I think there can be within the few months after, because that's the exciting time. It's the exciting time for our city. It's the exciting time for players and coaches. So that's when things really begin to pull on players and coaches and Eagles personnel.
Yeah, I was hungover pretty much for 3 months.
So
I got to be honest with you.
Everybody feels the same thing, and so you have to really guard yourself against being pulled in so many different directions where it takes you away from your normal routine, your preparation for the season, whether it's a coach or a player, and it's okay to say no. I mean, everybody's excited and thrilled to death, and they should be. But at the same time, we got to gear ourselves up for another season.
Last one, Doug. Free agency starts in March. Fans don't really know what you do now between this period of time and then. Could you help us out?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with evaluating our current roster. We got to go back through and evaluate those guys. So the position coaches have been knocking that out, and then secondly, I as the head coach, I look at the staff. I start with the coordinators and have conversations with them, and just evaluate, and see where we can improve or help a coach, or maybe you got a young coach that you might consider a promotion here or there if you got an opening. So those are all the things that I go through as a head football coach, and then we continue to evaluate. The Senior Bowl, you evaluate those players, and then you start into the combine players, and then of course free agency in March. You're looking at the NFL guys for free agency, and at the same time you're trying to get yourself ready for OTAs and having your team back in April. So I feel like we're a lot busier in the spring than we are even during the season, because in the season we're just focused on our next opponent. we're here. We got a lot of irons in the fire.
I lied. Is this what you consider, and I'm not going to hold you to it, don't hold him to it. Is this a reload or a rebuild combination? How do you kind of look at the roster going forward?
I think we just reload. I think we gear up and go again. I really feel comfortable with our roster and where we're at, and the guys that are coming back, and the guys that are injured and coming back. And we definitely have to be smart with the injured players and not push them. But at the same time, I feel like we just reload, and we're getting to that point now. For me, going into year 4, where you get your roster kind of where you want it, and how it is going to take shape each year, and that's a credit obviously to Howie and Joe and the scouts that are out on the road, looking for players to bring in here, and then it's our job obviously as coaches to coach them up. So, I'm excited. We just add some more pieces, and we gear up for another one.
2019 just can't get here quickly enough. Coach, thanks so much. Great run.
Thank you, Dave.
And have a nice offseason here. We'll see
do.
you
Thank
around.
you. Yep, we'll see
Doug
you.
Pederson in studio, one-on-one. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. A conversation presented by Wawa. Thanks for joining us.